just so I'm clear what we're talking about here, we're talking about the property, the purchase of that from the bank, right? No? No.
Ambulance transfers.
Ambulance, oh, got it, okay. Well, I've got some stuff to talk about with that too.
Okay.
Are you talking about what this meeting is or what
Yes.
that meeting
With
was?
this meeting.
Okay, let's get it clear.
Okay.
What did she say?
She didn't know I was back.
We should have ducked.
I'll let you, because you're the one that has to deal with it, but I'm following up on a conversation that Chauncey and I had, and I don't disagree with him. He felt that the board should be the one that ultimately, if we send something to the hospital, says, thank you very much, Board of Supervisors.
And I said that without talking to Josh. I looked through the proposed letter that Josh was going to write. I think it's fair and appropriate, and it's giving them a bunch of options. I guess I was just kind of trying to be diplomatic and put a layer of insulation in between Josh and the emergency room people and the people you have to deal with every
Right.
single day.
And that, I mean, that may not be a bad idea.
Not to say that it wouldn't be effective coming from you. I just, if you have to show up with a transfer and like they're all staring cold daggers at you, you
Which,
know,
I mean, that's.
it happens anyway, I
a
know,
weekly
but.
occurrence, I think.
Yeah, he's married, so
Right.
he gets that.
Well, that, that's small compared to with these clowns. I shouldn't say that, I guess. I don't know
That's
who's
okay.
watching.
Nobody.
So did you guys saw the email and the spreadsheet that attached? Yeah, they've been wanting this information since we had our meeting here last time. And that's, I mean, that's what we came up with, and that's what the numbers show. We did 178, what it was. 179 transfers, filled out 290,000-ish. Were paid 120, almost 124, which leaves a balance of 162,000 and some change. Then again, I said in the proposed email, I didn't obviously send that. I sent it to you guys first for that diplomatic response. I think is.
I didn't mean to throw.
No. And I don't disagree with you. Sometimes I struggle with those things. I'm just very direct and I don't think about the consequences sometimes. But in that I said one of their rebuttals could potentially be, well, you made $124,000 off of this. You're not wrong. However, to staff an ambulance, which basically we staff 2 trucks 24/7 with the intent of being able to provide the hospital with those transfers when they need it. It's pretty rare that we need 2 rigs for 911s, although it does happen sometimes. I mean, if there are a lot of other options, as far as staffing and things like that we could look at if we didn't need to be ready for the transfers all the time. So, and the hospital, they fight us, they send out really questionable stuff sometimes. My staff are getting burned out and we've got to do something about it.
Well, so ask, play devil's advocate here, or somebody asked it, an informal question. Cost benefit analysis. Okay, so we know what the cost is, or you know what the cost is to perform all this service.
Mhm.
So the bottom line is that the benefit is not covering the cost. Is that a fair assessment?
Basically.
Okay.
Right.
What do we need to cover the cost? And what I mean by that is that I'm not looking to make a problem on the back of the hospital.
Right. And I don't want that either. And I'm not opposed to taking their transfers and doing the things, but again, it's that part of it is they seem to expect us to be there without any
We are their ambulance service.
yeah, and that's kind of their perception is we belong to them and they will use us at their mercy, and we just have to accept that. They
And
offer.
their attitude has been, whatever we when we call you for transfer, whatever we send out is medically necessary. Even if it turns out from the billing company and the insurance company to not be medically necessary, you heard Stacy sit right here and say it. You know, that if that's by doctor's orders, well,
So there's a medical doctor that makes the determination of medical necessity, or it's not a ER nurse or,
So, yeah, the doctor is the one who says this patient needs to go. The issue in a lot of these cases are that Center for Medicare and Medicaid, or CMS, has very specific guidelines about what is medically necessary for an ambulance. And the argument is never that these patients don't need to go somewhere else. We recognize they do because, I mean, this is a critical access hospital with very little resources. It's how they get there that is what's causing the rub between us and the hospital. And I get it to an extent. And I don't necessarily disagree with them in the liability piece, because that's really what it comes down to quite a bit. The doc says this needs to go by ambulance. There's a liability piece there on their backs that if the patient doesn't arrive there safely, then there's a problem. But that contradicts CMS's ambulance necessity a lot. Recent examples, there was one, and I don't remember if I put this in the email or not. There was one that a patient, an adolescent, was going to Burlington for an or a possible appendicitis. The surgeon there at the receiving facility wanted the patient to go by ambulance to ensure that she didn't eat on the way. Now, that's no fault of this hospital, but that is the mentality. That is just, again, one example, because the patient isn't supposed to eat before they go into surgery, and there's a potential there for surgery. While I understand the concept,
we didn't get paid for it.
we didn't end up taking it.
Oh, okay.
who took it? Had the,
Mom took
Oh.
the kid. And like, that's, in our mind, that's reasonable. We educate the mother, hey, don't, even if she gives you little puppy dog eyes, don't let her eat or drink anything on the way to Burlington. Cool. So that's one example.
and that saved everybody money. That saved the
Oh, yeah,
family money,
absolutely.
saved the hospital
And
money.
that's where we're coming at this, is from that, and I say patient advocacy a lot, because that's really what it is. Why charge these patients a $2,000, $3,000 bill when they can drive themselves or get a ride from somebody to go to the receiving facility? And again, our rub with the hospital is they're worried about liability. I'm worried about not giving that patient a $3,000 bill.
Mhm.
And that's what it comes down to a lot. And again, in that spreadsheet, a perirectal abscess. I don't know why an abscess needs to go by ambulance. No treatment is done. Eye pain, gallstones. The list goes on and on and on. Where we don't do anything, they literally just need a babysitter. And that's not what we are.
But they're demanding that they're saying that you should take these.
Yes. And their expectation seemingly, and again, this has never been directly said, but it speaks for itself, in that they call and we go regardless.
So
And they get upset when we ask questions.
There should
That's
be
just
some
what I was gonna
income
ask.
from that.
That's what I'm,
You can't just, Abby and I might need a ride to McDonald's too. Should we call you?
yeah, sure. That's their, I mean, that,
Yeah.
Is there a logistically workable mechanism for putting into place that will do all your transfers, but if they come back unmedically necessary by CMMS, you're on the hook?
yes.
Okay.
So our billing company has proposed this. As a payer of last resort or something like that. The CEO in that last meeting we had said, sure, we can look at that, but I want to know how many are being rejected. If it's a handful, okay, that's not a big deal. If it's, I mean, I can't tell you how many have not paid out. several, they probably wouldn't like that because that is thousands of dollars.
And that does seem like something that Brian, as the CEO of the hospital, would be able to get on his medical staff about, right? I mean,
think so.
he does not want people doing unnecessary orders for transport, I would imagine. I don't know.
I don't know.
Seemed to be his messaging.
That did not. They want to see the patients to get the charges and then send them to where they need to go.
That's the business side.
That's the business side. Because, and again, all of these things trickle into other areas. We've called helicopters to come get patients from the scene and the ER docs decline that. We'll call off a helicopter and demand that we take them to the hospital and then fly them out later. All of these things are connected.
So the ER doctors have the right to do that, even though they do not see the patient?
No, and that hasn't happened since I've been here.
And you wouldn't want to send them by helicopter because that's much more expensive unless it's necessary.
Right, and if we're calling if we're calling for a helicopter,
There's a reason.
yes, there's very clear necessity for it. But for the ER doc to, and that we're getting a little off topic, but that has happened in the past. That happened before I came here.
Well, speaking of before times, this does ring true to every other fight we've had with regard to ambulance service. I mean, if you guys recall, some of our negotiations with CARE were that they were refusing to do transports, and this same fight happened 2022. I don't recall if it was the same fight with Midwest. This seems like a perpetual point of friction.
It is because we have two very different perspectives on things. They just need to get the patient out of the hospital at all costs on their timeline. And it's not a priority for us. And I won't say that. In a lot of these cases, it's not a priority. What was the other example I put in the email? The pneumonia patient that was on dialysis, wanted to be discharged and just continue treatment at home and go back to his dialysis schedule. For some reason at 2:00 in the morning is a good time to put a patient on the road and take them to Burlington, because if the patient's going to be admitted, they have to be admitted to a place that has in-house dialysis. Again, I understand that. However, the patient didn't want to go. The hospital kind of coaxed them into it. And then 2:00 in the morning seems like the appropriate time to do that. It's ongoing. It's a perpetual problem.
And I recall several conversations about these middle of the night transfers. Do they like 2 a.m. transfers for a particular reason? Why do they do that more often than they should?
Well, and so I guess it's not on this one, but I don't know if I can access it from here. Probably not.
Does it have to do with Iowa City's schedule, like that it opens at 6 or?
No,
No.
no. Because I can't access it. I did go through that. And maybe I don't remember which one I sent you guys. I did go through that spreadsheet again and add a column for the times because I was curious about the data on that in sending out transfers. That's just one that I get a lot of complaints, or it seems like I get a lot of complaints about, but I don't know that the data really substantiates that. Anyway, when they get accepting, when the hospital gets a bed for the patient anywhere else, they just like, this patient has to go right now without any regard to our schedule or that we've been up for, since 6:00 the previous morning. They don't care.
We've had this thing for 2 years. It's still not very smooth. It seems like they're the one in charge as far as I'm concerned,
That's how it seems.
because they get somebody in, they want to get them out, where can they take them? Oh, well, we'll take them somewhere. It's just wrong.
I agree.
That time of night is probably when it's slow for them. So they want to get this done then, because, ahead of that, they're getting patients in bed or having this and that or doing records and 2 o'clock might be a convenient time. And they're not real busy then to do stuff. I can understand who'd want to take off at 2.
Especially, I think we talked about your shift change is 6, right? 7.
7.
So there were some issues when they were calling in 4 a.m. transfers because then they got to do overtime and then, yeah.
Well, and I think, look, it's just a personal opinion with no evidence to back it up, but anything they do is predicated upon money. Period. If they ship a patient out, I'm not saying that patients don't need a higher level of care. I agree with you that I was one that they shipped out that needed a higher level of care that they were unable to perform. And I understand that, but I also understand that there are patients that get sent out that don't necessarily need a higher level of care, but aren't good pay in terms they're a Medicaid patient, or like me, they're a Medicare patient. So what they're getting reimbursed, if they can free up that bed, potentially for somebody else coming in that has Blue Cross Blue Shield, then it's better pay. Everything that they do is, and
They would never admit that, right? I mean, they
No.
treat everyone
Well, yeah, and
else.
there's
Never
nothing to
admit it.
substantiate that, but that does seem, I mean, again, that's the
Well,
business side of things.
Right.
I don't know how you define admit it. We're sitting in a meeting, Josh and I, so he heard it, so I'm not.
They
And
said that? That we have to get somebody with better insurance in here?
no, that's not the way they put it. The way that they put it, when I said, and all I asked him for was $50,000. And he said, well, I'll take it to my board, but my board said, if you take the ambulance service, you take the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay? So the point is that they're not wanting to show, and they conveniently forget, and this is the point that I've tried to drive home. You guys have heard it till you're blue in the face. We're saving them $500,000 a year. Any way you slice that pie, it's $500,000.
Well, it does cover some of the lawsuits they have coming.
Well, that's true, good point. But the point simply is that if we had stayed with care, we didn't have to jump into the deep end of the pool, but we did. Okay, and it was not without a lot of consternation. It was not without a lot of, are we going to sink right to the bottom? Because we didn't know the answer to that. And we definitely had growing pains as far as that part of it goes, and still do to some extent. But my point is that if we had stayed with care, I don't know what we would have ended up with, but if we had stayed with care at a bare minimum, they would have continued to get the $360,000 in subsidy, which the taxpayers were paying for through the 27-cent levy, and another $1.5 million on top of that. And they weren't willing to negotiate that. They felt that they had all of the apples in their basket, and I don't know how many times, Chauncey, you were on more negotiations than I was, but how many times they said $1.5 million, $1.5 million, $1.5 million, which would have been $500,000 per entity, the city, the county, and the hospital. The city's not contributing, and the hospital's not contributing. Now, the taxpayers are. I got kudos that they went out and they voted to fund this, and I'm very appreciative of it. But I don't think that alleviates the hospital who's using the service without having to help put some Band-Aids on some of the sore spots. And if we're sending out patients that we can't get reimbursed for, that's just adds insult to injury in my estimation. And when Josh brought up in the last meeting we had about, and the billing company was online, medically unnecessary transfers, and right away, Stacy gets her back up, which I understand because it's a direct indictment, if you will, for lack of a better way of putting it, of their processes. And she's in charge of the ER, and she does a damn good job. It's, but
I see where she's coming from because honestly, if I've got a doctor that says this is medically necessary for anybody's business, it is medically necessary, right? And it's weird that an insurance company, a bean counter, can come through and look at words on a page and be like, oh, this wasn't actually medically necessary.
Don't get me started on insurance companies.
Right.
But yeah, you're not wrong.
But there are some that are clearly predicated upon what he has stated that were not medically necessary. We had a patient here some time back, or I shouldn't say we, they did on a transfer, that was a potential aneurysm, I believe in the stomach, if I'm not mistaken, if I don't remember correctly. And, you know, there was some serious concern. There was a lot of back and forth discussion between the current, the on-duty crew and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is that if you've never ridden in that ambulance, you wouldn't want to ride in it very long. And we've got probably one of the best ambulances as far as suspensions go that money can buy. It's a liquid suspension and it still rides like a freaking lumber wagon. And so the bouncing and I know when I went over from here to Burlington, now Van Buren's the one that took me, and even though I was strapped to the cart,
It's a rough ride.
yeah, it was, you know, like Joe, I didn't dump my cart, but I was on the cart and it was so rough I got a concussion. No, I'm just kidding. But
You weren't on it.
Yeah, I was still sitting on it.
Oh, geez.
So talking about this potential aneurysm,
mhm.
as you know, my daughter's a doctor. And so I brought it up to her. Well, that's air care immediately, is what she said.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
That's-
that
She
was
says,
the
that should have
argument.
been. I says,
That
it was
was-
a problem.
That was the
I
argument.
mean, I just asked her.
Mhm.
So what were they thinking? I mean,
You know, I've
Thinking
heard
how
them
much money's in
say
their wallet.
that
That's
they
what
don't
think.
want the
That's what I'm
patient to have to
thinking.
pay that kind of money. I don't know if that's true or not. I know they got really sideways when CARE wasn't able to transfer my grandson. Remember the conversation you and I had about that, and they had air flighting from here.
Is
Because
that,
it was there was nobody available. Henry County couldn't take it and Van Buren couldn't take it. And CARE wouldn't take it or didn't have the person, whatever it was, they air flighted it.
about 20 grand? Ballpark? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, and insurance does cover most of that,
Still.
but still, yeah, and again, it depends on the patient's insurance and what they get stuck with. And I don't advocate for flying patients that don't need to fly either. Because again, patient advocacy. Like, it's not us, but Atoma Regional they tried to fly an ankle fracture the other day. I thought that was stupid. We don't need to do that. So anyway, and again, these issues are not isolated to here. However, our relationship is strained. And I don't,
Well, and I believe that.
there's no easy fix for it.
No, there isn't, but I believe that Brian Hunger, who I believe also drives his board. And I'm not finding fault there. That's just a simple statement of fact. I believe that he is the controlling authority. I mean, I believe that clearly that they can think for themselves and they do, and they make decisions predicated upon what they feel is the right or wrong thing to do. But
That's very generous of you.
well, but when you bring in a professional, you know, if we're wanting engineering work done and we bring in Dwayne and ask the questions, we're going to defer to his judgment because he is the professional. And so is Brian in terms of his position. Dead Cardinal. And both of them are cut out of the same bowl cloth. And I understand that they're the CEO of the hospital. So first and foremost is the hospital. That's their priority in terms of their bottom line, because that's what everybody looks at when they're looking at the CEO is the hospital department. I'm sure you all have heard out there in the community, well, they just keep building and they just keep adding on. My hospital bill just keeps going up. You know, and it's the same old story, and they're not the Lone Ranger in this. But they're not the only ones that have to deal with that. And I don't want to point a finger and say, well, Susie doesn't need a higher level of care, or Susie didn't need to go, or it wasn't medically necessary. I'm not in a position to make that decision. But if it comes back, and what I think I'm asking, and I don't think is unreasonable, is if it comes back and Josh tells us, hey, the insurance company and said that this was not medically necessary. We're not disputing that you thought it was, but you gotta cover the cost. That's all. If we'll take what the insurance company pays if they pay. But if the insurance company says go sit on and spend because it wasn't medically necessary, I think the hospital should cover the cost.
How much would that cost? How many of these are we talking? Do we have a number? Because Brian thought maybe yes if it's a couple, but it's more than a
Oh,
couple.
it's, um. I mean, I could count.
Oh, it's ballpark
Count it
on.
up.
Like if they were gonna give us a monthly figure, it would be 15 grand.
Well, I wish you wouldn't by some stroke of magic happen to have the transfer agreement that the hospital entered into with
With
Care
Care?
Ambulance.
Probably get it. I might have to butter up, what's his name?
Well,
Bob Libby.
Oh, how about Wilma? Wilma, Vanessa,
Oh,
that's probably attorney-client privilege, isn't it?
it's maybe a business privilege. I don't know. Bob wanted to grab lunch or something like that after all that stuff settled, and I never took him up on it. Maybe that's an opportunity.
Well, I'm really curious. I know somebody who has it, but I can't reach out to her. So I tried to reach out to the tentacles or whatever you call it of the octopus. That, I talked to Cassie the other day. I've talked to Damien. He thought he might have it in an email, but he never got back to me. It was at the ambulance base. We had copies of it.
Well, what could it go wrong with?
I don't know, I told him when he came in, we had a mouse problem. I just
You're in
didn't
a
know
mouse.
when you clicked and point that it destroyed everything, but that's okay.
so 48.
48 per month.
48,
total.
48 transfers in the first 6 months that have gone completely unpaid.
And
So
we're
let's-
running 3 grand each. Like if we were gonna make an ask to
Yeah.
Bob,
2,500
2,500.
average.
So 8 a month. So
What'd you say the cost was roughly?
25.
20, I mean, 25-ish.
Roughly.
20 grand a month.
Yeah,
Well, they're not gonna.
No, they're not gonna do that.
I asked him for 50 for the year. So
So,
I'm looking at, all right, so you said 2,500. And so I want to be a nice guy. And I'll say, well, Chauncey, here's what I'll do. So we're doing 8 a month that we're not getting a single dime for. You give us 1,250. That's 10 grand.
so, well, and I think I laid out 4 options. They continue to pay nothing,
Yeah.
they get what they get. If
Yeah.
we're available, if it's an emergent trip, if there are no questions asked,
What I do for you.
I'm good with that. Like cardiac strokes, traumas, all of, like, we know the things that are absolutely necessary. We don't need to ask questions.
I wrote it down in my book.
We can take those, and I have no problems taking those.
Yeah, well, I'm planning on it.
But
anyway.
it'll just come as we're available.
Don't rise.
I asked, and in
Thank you. Bye.
the conversation that he refers to, when he says the good, bad, and the ugly, I'm still. Anyway, at that point, the CFO asked for figures for like the common places that we go. Now, 70%, 80% of our transfers go to the university. But a fair amount go to Burlington and then just kind of sporadic other places. And he asked for a breakdown of actual costs that we incur for each of those transfers. And I send him the breakdown, and it's between 200 and 250 per trip. And so, I mean, if we can collect that, at the very least, we're covering staffing and fuel for each transfer. So, and I am good with that. Okay, and to me, that's the like bottom line ask. If we're asking for money, I think that's reasonable.
that's a great business. If it can cost you $250, but you can bill insurance for 2,500, you're making a 1,000% profit every time. They have to pay you $250, but for that, they're gonna bill the insurance company 2,500.
Well, the hospital won't. We bill that.
JCAS will. Oh.
Yeah,
Do you think you can make it to Iowa City and back on $250 paying 2 staff plus the fuel and the maintenance on an ambulance.
Well, that doesn't include maintenance. That is literally just hourly wage.
Boy, that sounds
And-
awful cheap
and
to
fuel.
me. I'm sorry.
$100 an hour plus $50 in gas.
Basically.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, Joe, those hamsters don't eat much. So they just keep those wheels turning.
Yeah.
I think whatever you do, you should increase what you're asking because that's what.
I'd never give them figures at the hospital. No way.
Mhm.
But, and again, I feel like I'm reasonable. I'm not gonna ask for more than we absolutely need. But again, they need to have,
And we're only
They
asking.
need to have
on those that
some-
Nobody pays.
yeah. They need to have some skin in the game, I think.
Yeah,
If they're gonna
they-
continue to, and that, again, that's the bottom line ask. If you continue to pay us nothing, you'll get what you get. If you pay
It's
us,
been 2 years. We've got to show a little bit of a profit here on something or a little
Mhm.
increase in income.
And I remember you and I having conversations, well, D2 for that matter.
Yeah.
I remember you and I having conversations. We didn't push the buttons while they were still doing the 27 cents.
Mhm.
Okay, we let that slide because I'm fairly confident, in fact, I think you were part of those conversations. We were fairly confident they were gonna go back and get in our face and go, well, you're getting 250,000 a year, what are you complaining about?
Mhm.
But
But
it
that was
wasn't
just
costing the
passed.
hospital anything, it was costing the taxpayers who were paying that, because by law, that's strictly a pass-through.
Yep.
The taxpayers are paying for this either way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the question is, see, the hospital too, this is not about ambulance services, but the hospital's not subject to all of those restrictions that the state has put on us in terms of their levy rates and stuff. So yes, you're right, Chauncey, all the taxpayers paying the bill. But the point is that, which they wouldn't have to, but if the hospital said, well, we gotta raise our levy to cover it, they can. We can't. Is the point.
So could the hospital come out and ask for another levy?
The hospital board got rid of the ambulance levy
Yes.
because of the implementation of our
Right,
levy.
but their general fund levy, yes, they can raise, but they don't need to.
They also didn't have to get rid of that levy,
No,
the 27 cents.
no, there's no requirement. However, to be fair to the hospital, when we were out promoting the 75 cents, we said that in part, we would eliminate that 27, which was perfectly fine. And I go back with what Josh just said. I don't want them to pay for the ambulance service. We tried this before Susie and I was on the board when Midwest came into being, but Deb Carden was the CEO at the time. There's a long story, but as to why it ended up, how it ended up. But the fact of the matter is that Steve Bergmeyer and Martha Rasmussen voted to put the ambulance in the hospital. But because of some changes that they weren't legal, but because of some changes in the voting structure, Deb Carden was allowed to vote as well as the hospital representative. So they had 2 votes on that, in that 3-legged stool. But the point is, the hospital never wanted the ambulance service. They want to control it, but they don't want it. And they said, it's a loser. Well, we know that. We didn't take this. I mean, how many times have you heard me say, we're not in the business to make a profit?
I think everybody knew this is going to lose money every year, but not that much.
Right. But if we can help mitigate some of those losses by a mere $250 for the people that we don't get anything on, at least it covers the cost. And like you said, it doesn't cover it. And when Joe asked the question, it doesn't cover the maintenance and the upkeep.
Mhm.
So has everybody looked at Josh's letter that he
Yeah.
wants to send?
Yes.
Do you have any changes or anything you would want to?
Lee, when you went by ambulance
mean-
to Burlington,
Not
why didn't you went through Van Buren County? Why'd you do that?
Because Midwest was not available
Ah,
at the time. Midwest was the provider.
And I think
and
you
they
said
weren't
that.
available. Yeah.
Was it immediate that you needed to go, or could you have waited for Midwest to have transferred you?
I would say in my particular instance, it was immediate because my lungs were full of blood clots,
Yeah.
and we found out
Okay.
later I had a blood clot in the
Yeah.
back of my heart.
Yeah, that's a big
Okay.
deal.
Yeah.
That is.
That's an emergent trip. That's one I wouldn't question. So with the $250 ask per trip, and to clarify, that's not for the trips we don't get paid. That is what we would request from the hospital to be their transport service. $250 a trip,
Regardless of whether we got paid or not.
regardless of whether they got paid or not. That is, for the first 6 months of this year, would be $44,500, which they're probably not gonna go for.
Hey, come on in.
Hi, my name's Susie.
Huh? Hey now.
I think there's a song out there that's hey,
Hey,
hey.
I never is.
So I mean, again, they're looking at their bottom line, which I understand, but that's where we'd be. So, I mean, we're looking
So
at,
they'd have been a lot better off to take my $50,000 offer.
they would have. They would have. And I mean, and I'm not opposed to looking at other things too, like I mean, the hospital, the pharmacy is doing all of our meds now, which is awesome. That's less nonsense for us to have to worry about. We don't have to have drugs in a closet on base. I mean, I'm not opposed to necessarily looking at other things, but they don't have any skin in the game, and they use us as if we belong to them.
Maybe this is an outside of the box solution, but me and Lee were talking about, is there a more economically feasible way to do transfers that are not medically necessary, medically urgent? Like a van with a driver kind of?
There would be. I mean, and some of these,
You want to drive?
No, I was just thinking of 1050 trains.
which, something along that lines.
And that would keep the child secure and keep the child from eating,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But essentially, it would save on one personnel potentially.
One personnel plus gas, it'd be a
I don't know,
van.
you'd have to answer that question.
Yeah, we could, but again, we're gonna buy another vehicle to use for
Probably
transfers.
seen it on the agenda.
And I mean, yeah, we could send some of these with a driver.
Mhm.
But I don't know how that would be.
It's not,
Build.
it's not an ambulance without somebody in the back caring for the patient.
Well, the other thing
Yeah.
that concerns me is we would have to make, I think, that maybe I think we would have to make, if we did something like that, we'd have to make it abundantly clear that we don't do site transfers.
Hmm.
Which I'm not opposed to
You should.
doing psych trips too, because that's a different funding source
We
altogether.
would have to bring in a separate body to do that. In other words, kind of like an on-call thing,
Mhm.
because you can't split up your.
Correct.
That's what
Right.
CARE did. CARE would split up their crew.
Well, no, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
We could take volunteers, or we could have whatever, just sign up to take psych trips if we're gonna offer that,
Right.
which I'm not opposed to that either, and that's been discussed by some of the staff at base. But as far as transporting these non-medically necessary, non-ambulance necessary patients, I don't know how that side of it would work. I mean, it's an option. CARE, I think, has like a transport van. I'm sure all those other for-profit organizations do as well.
But they would charge if they brought their van in, right? For transfer.
Yeah, I just don't know how I'd have to touch base with our billing people and figure out if we can bill for that or how that looks.
They'd almost certainly charge more than 250.
I'm certain. But
It would have to be a wheelchair accessible
Right.
vehicle.
Yeah, it'd be $100,000 to build that.
Yeah.
yep.
So do you think that this letter is good to go? No amendments or changes?
I mean, if you can probably make it sound like I'm not.
Did you put the 250 in there? Is that what you is that?
Yeah, so at the bottom, I
Don't ask me
said,
to explain that.
there are-
I'm about to turn off the devil side.
oh, that's fine.
Option two.
There are options. One, JCHC pays nothing and they have to go through a different process and we'll take what we want to. Option two, they pay $250 per transfer. And we still ask questions about why things need to go out at stupid times. We also cut off non-critical transports at 11 o'clock, 2,300. Option three, they pay us $100,000 a year and we take all their stuff without question. And option four, they start their own service.
They
I don't-
didn't agree to the 50K. They're not going to agree to the 100, right?
Oh, I'm certain.
Well,
But even at $250 per transfer, you're looking at $88,000.
Yeah.
I took it, not to defend Brian, but what he said was, I'll take it to my board. That's when he said the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I was there.
He didn't categorically say, no, we're not doing this. He says, I'll take it to my board. But they said when you took on the ambulance service, you were gonna take the good, the bad, and the ugly. That was the conversation, such as it was.
And all
What's
of
the good? What's the good that we're taking?
Well, I mean, the good is we're providing a service
Right.
for the community that is absolutely necessary. I mean, now that we're tax funded, that certainly helps a lot. And I think with
But here's
the other things that we've put into place, we're collecting, we're not losing.
what I would like to see
It's a lot smoother than the car.
is
So much better.
to get to a point where you just said, okay, so it helps a lot that we're tax funded. So the taxpayers have stepped up and they've said, yes, this is an essential service and we want it to be there. And we want to be there when they need transfers. There's no question about that. And we want to be a partner. The hospital center said, we want to be a partner, except that it's a one-sided equation.
It is.
There's only one partner. You have to have two to make a partnership.
Not
And,
always. That's why people get divorced.
well,
That's not a partnership.
Yeah, I know.
that's called an apartment. Yeah. But where I'm going with this is that if the $88,000, for example, if it came to a point where we might be able to turn around and say, okay, because you've stepped up and because you've helped, maybe we can take 10 cents or 15 cents off that 75 cents down the road. You know, we're not locked into, we can't go above 75, but we certainly can go below 75 if the option or the opportunity presents itself. And if we can get funded from, or funding help, if, let's say, from an entity that we're providing a service that seems to think that our people can't stop and get something to eat because they're not back into town in a timely fashion.
That was also a recent question.
Seriously. So you have several supervisors.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a phone call from Stacy asking why a trip took so long.
What? She knows when you get back?
Oh, yeah, they listen.
That's not their business.
Yeah,
As I'm concerned.
that happened just before our last meeting here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wondered why the crew took so long because they had another transfer that they needed to go out. That
It's not because they're paying like by the hour, it's because they were waiting for us.
Yes.
They pay per trip, right?
Yep.
You guys want to get encrypted radios?
I would love
Just for
to.
speaking code.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say.
I would love to. I mean, we have a whole. That's another topic. That's a lot of money, but our radios are garbage. Anyway, yeah. So I mean,
I thought, didn't we just get new radios?
we got hand-me-downs from the county, from the sheriff's office,
Oh, okay.
but yeah,
So you still can't communicate?
Apparently the hospital can hear you fine.
just
I think they're communicating, but just with everybody.
it's just it's a weird system.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if I can make this sound any less.
Well, it's intended to drive a point, right? I
I
mean,
mean, yes.
is the point of this meeting to decide to send that?
I think the point of this meeting is to decide who should say what.
Well.
And if it comes from the
at the very least, I think
supervisors,
It needs to be on our letterhead and signed by the three of us.
I agree with that. It shouldn't be Josh doing it.
you know, he's gonna get the blame anyway, so.
Yeah. it's
Oh,
gonna be
100%.
some
And that's
friction
fine.
there, and
I mean, there's proof.
Well, and we can always, you know, if they have some concerns, we can always put a phone number on there. Josh, what's your phone number?
They already know how to get a hold of me.
Okay. So, I mean, you've had an opportunity to review the letter, to see the letter when it was sent in the email. I don't think there was anything over the top as far as, I mean, I think he was very professional in his approach and his reasoning. That doesn't mean that they're going to accept it. So the other part of that equation is that we send that then to Brian.
Who is it addressed to?
That's what I'm asking.
I mean, if I was gonna send this myself, I would address Brian,
Jason?
the CFO,
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never.
Brent,
Brent,
I don't know. I think
Piker?
that's his name.
Fikers.
yeah.
each one of the board of directors get this letter.
Probably,
So it gets to them.
and yeah, Stacy,
We need to water it down there.
That's what I was thinking.
You could send it to Brian and then have CC to all these other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the action to the CEO and
That's just, I mean, that way that they see the whole letter and don't just get parts of it.
right. Yeah, I would certainly include as many people as necessary, like Stacy Worley, and then her counterpart over MedSurg. I can't think of her name. The CNO, the Chief Nursing Officer. Jackie Nosbish.
back to the diplomacy angle, is this the opening of a negotiation? Or is this like a kind of a demand letter, this or like, are we expecting a counter?
I don't know how they will respond.
Okay.
I mean, and again, if you guys want, I'm not opposed to negotiating something, but the four options I laid out, I think are certainly a starting point.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask a question. We've negotiated. We went to them. They came to us. In both instances, we indicated what our concerns were. This is nothing new. And there's been silence.
So, and I think I told you this, they felt ambushed at the last meeting that we had here.
Oh, that's too bad.
Telling you what was said.
Brian filled out.
Brian and Stacy. I don't know if it seems that they didn't know the context of the conversation because they were ill prepared. That said, the previous meetings that we had at the hospital, they seemed very blasé about it. Just, again, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that comment comes up a lot because that was their.
So if the shoe was on the other foot and they were in our position, you think they'd put up with that forever?
Mm-mm.
Well, that's,
And again, I mean, the options I laid out here, I think, to me, it's reasonable. Again, if you guys think differently, by all means, that's why we're here.
we're relying on your expertise here to understand this and everything.
And I'm continuing to learn. And again, we talk about the times. The eye pain that went out with nothing. Was it 2:30 in the morning? And then there are some important stuff that goes, like a patient that's on BiPAP, oxygen.
And you're the medical professional here. Is eye pain not indicative of a possible like emergency that somebody would need to get to the U right away?
And again, this is where things are
Yeah.
like weird. Yes, they need to go somewhere. Do they need an ambulance?
Right.
It depends if there's a knife sticking out of their eye.
Right, and,
Right.
and the fact that we did nothing for that patient during that transfer, or during that transport, indicates that they didn't necessarily need to go by ambulance. And again, I'm not arguing, and one of the things that Stacy specifically has mentioned, she doesn't like that we question the doctors because nurses don't question doctors. We are not nurses. We do question everyone. And we come at it from an area of patient advocacy. Why are we gonna stick this patient with a $3,000 bill that they don't need?
Well, and with all due respect, after this is such and such a time at night, the doctors that normally that they have on duty are not there to do anything other than look at your circumstances and say, take 2 aspirin and go to bed, or we're gonna send you somewhere. That's, I mean, it was essentially, I mean, look, when I went in there, they ran tests and when the first blood test they ran didn't show a heart attack. The doctor said, well, I want to run another blood test because I think you got blood clots. I remember saying, no, there's no way I got blood clots. I bleed like a stuck ball. Well, according to the test, I had blood clots. And then she said, we're not equipped to handle that here, so we're going to send you to the U. No, you're not, because I'm not going to the U. I don't want to go to the U. Well, Mercy's full. Well, I didn't want to go there either. Well, where do you want to go? I want to go to Great River. I don't know if they can handle it. They can handle it. So, I mean, but that essentially, and I understand where they're coming from on that, in that regard, but they're not equipped to handle most anything,
Right.
like you said.
And as far as like the insurance companies go, and I think I said it in there, some of the things that are questionable in my mind, insurance companies paid, some of the things that should have been paid weren't. And so insurance companies, if anybody can figure them out, please educate me. But like, and I'm looking at this, there was a cancer patient, that left at 3:00, 3:25 in the morning. We didn't do anything for her. And nothing's gonna get done until at least, probably day shift when the day doc comes in. Why are we taking that? It's those things that I question.
Is it a patient had it just come into the emergency room or was in a room at the hospital and decided to move them? You don't know that.
Well, I can look that up, like
Yeah,
an ER patient versus like a med surge patient, someone who's admitted to the hospital.
okay.
I can find that
they'll tell you
information.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is ER and med surge and
Well, when we send this, or however we send it, we want to make it abundantly clear that, we do want a partnership. We do want to do their transfer.
absolutely.
But a partnership takes 2, minimum. And we're not having that right now in terms of, at least from our perspective. Then their perspective obviously could be significantly different, and I get that. But
May I ask a question?
no,
Is there, so regarding questioning the rationale for transport, especially when it's at a certain time of day, there like a certain, and forgive me if you've already discussed this, is there like a certain dollar amount that you're proposing for, like no questions asked, I guess?
So, well, and
$100,000?
a hundred thousand. Yeah, and I said $100,000 a year and we'll take all their trips without questions.
Right, yeah.
And again, I don't think they'll go for that.
Right,
The other proposal is $250 per transfer with some stipulations.
yeah, I agree with you about the 100,000 when we offered 50.
When you mentioned 50, they
Yeah.
kind of scoffed at it.
But how many transfers do you get from them?
Well, so the first 6 months, we had 178 in 6 months. So that's what I'm saying. It's 44,000 and some change just from this first 6 months that we would have gotten.
And they just take $100,000 and they may not be, they're not questioned. Cause it'll be about that. And they don't like being questioned.
They don't like being questioned.
Seems like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah, from a place of common sense.
And if they pay it all up front, we'll give them a discount. It's only 96,000.
Sure.
It's 8,000 a month.
I mean, and whatever we can come up with is fine.
Do we want to print out 3 copies on supervisor letterhead? Have you guys run through it and anything you're not comfortable putting your name on, red line?
Mark it up, something we don't like.
Yeah, if there's something that's like, oh, that's too strong, or I don't know about this.
In my letter,
Yeah, because it'll have your names on it.
by all means, or rewrite the whole thing. I send my piece to those, you guys can make. the
Well,
decision.
and like I said, I agreed with Chauncey's assessment that I don't know that it'll carry any more weight with the hospital, but it coming from us, he's not being a cowboy out here.
Yeah,
If somebody wants to get mad at somebody, they should get mad at the supervisors, not at the ambulance director.
Yeah, I've already started that today, so let's just keep
Yeah.
the ball rolling.
Right?
we've got broad shoulders after the last 2 or 3 months. So.
Yeah, I did walk in on something.
Um, Yeah, I don't, for some reason, I have trouble printing that out, so I don't know if you can. You're,
Well, if you guys are just gonna mark it up, just print it like that and you guys can go through it and,
All you gotta change is the letterhead or signature type. Yeah, just use that.
Yeah, I don't know the problems, but
but it came in the form of an email, so it needs to come in. At least the way I got it, it was in the form of an email rather than in the form of a document like a PDF. Or the sheet.
well, right, and eventually we will get to that point,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
he suggested you guys go through it and mark
I mean,
it
do you
up.
have a copy of this? I'll forward this to you. Do you have their letterhead to?
I should do.
I remember reading it. I went through everything this morning and I've eliminated it out of my emails, so I do not have a copy.
Go,
of
also,
it.
I can.
I just sent it to Abby. She'll print off.
Okay. You can send it right there behind Lee.
I can print it on. I think I'm on the right
Oh,
network.
you're not on it? Okay.
Well, that's a copy right there, right? That you just copy
You
of.
could just make copies of
You
that.
guys want
Oh,
a paper copy?
that'll work.
I mean,
And then,
Abby should still be involved, of course.
and then I guess put this on the agenda for next week to finalize and send. Assuming you guys approve of any of it.
Yeah, we've got.
Do we want to-
days.
A special session again, or just have it in the regular meeting?
no.
Why are we whispering? He doesn't want you in there. I don't.
Oh,
Sorry.
Now we gotta start over.
No, I'm just gonna fill in for a moment. You can keep going.
You wanted me to know what that's for?
Miller.
Who?
Miller.
So
Something to do with furnace.
We had a service agreement.
Preventative maintenance contract. I've talked to Dave about it.
on this topic, the ambulance service, Elizabeth handed me a package of legal description for the
The land.
lane.
Yeah,
So
John or Josh?
That should be
Did you talk
sufficient,
to him about that
yeah.
on this?
Yeah, that's good. I think we just needed something a little bit more concrete, you know, in the purchase agreement. And if you didn't want to do the survey beforehand, which I understand, we just needed something, so that should be. Should be okay?
You just get more. Perfect.
Well, I don't know exactly when Jason Hall will get to it. I talked to him last week and
Is this just one copy here that you handed me?
Yeah.
All right, then I'll hand this in the suit and I'll take that.
And he talked like, he might try to get to it this week, the survey.
Okay, I mean, if you want to, put the I would say it sounds like you have a purchase agreement in place before the survey happens.
Well, Mike doesn't seem to be overly concerned about it one way or the other. His biggest concern was, not concern, but his hope was that he and Mark maybe could get the bank involved in some of the county's financial holdings, if you will. Mark invests our money locally, and so Mark said, well, he reached out to him and he asked lots of questions. He said it was yesterday. He said, I asked lots of questions about how are you involved in the community and so on and so forth. And he just wants to make sure that they're community oriented, but he takes all our money and invests it.
We're just talking about the transfer of the right of way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just talking about, he'd like to be a partner with the county.
Got it. And that's why they're
Yeah,
open to transferring this.
yeah,
property.
and he's,
Okay.
no, there's no financial,
They're not getting.
there's no quid pro.
Yeah.
They're not saying, well, to give this to you if you
Yeah,
give us, if you
yeah.
invest.
No,
Okay.
They'll give it to us because they don't want it. So they.
Right.
he's just
In
saying he wants
conversations
to be
that-
part of the
He
community.
wants to
Yeah.
do something for the betterment of the community and feels like donating this land.
Yeah.
And besides, if we take the land, we have to pay for.
Snow removal.
It looking better because it's nice.
Well,
It's
since he
better.
doesn't pay taxes.
So
on
it's,
it, and like she said, we improve it. Well, what I said, and we would have improved it, but I told him, I said, I just don't think legally we can put money into private land, into private property.
Yeah.
Now, they had an agreement with First National Bank. And when you look at the property line, clearly First National Bank was unaware of where the property line was at and they built road on it. But they don't care. They don't want it. And so,
The First National Bank was there before Washington State Bank bought that.
but they built over on the property line. They built over their
Washington
property.
Bank,
No, First National built over their property line. The portion of-
Okay.
The exit
well,
where the,
yeah, well,
Drive-through.
was that part of Walmart up there to it before?
That originally, if I remember correctly, Walmart was gonna exit out on the 34 and the DOT said, not so,
No, it
not so
wasn't
fast. There's too many
uh-huh.
entrances and exits out on the 34, because that was state highway at the time.
They never did have an entrance on the 34?
No.
They
they
were
did at one
going
point.
to,
Yeah,
and that's why they ran that out there like that. And that's what they were going to do, and when the
They were
DOT said
refused.
cease and desist, and that's why you have an entrance that's on the west side.
okay.
oh, so that never did go out all the way to Burlington? Oh.
I was thinking it did, but,
Well, I don't remember it ever going out there.
you know, they went through and closed a lot of driveways
Right.
through there.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't remember.
and that was the,
Okay,
yeah, that was the crux of that issue is why that's all like it is. And that was a cluster, it's still a cluster there with, when Casey's was there and Hy-Vee was across the other side. People trying to get in and out of that and that third turning lane or that middle turning lane, and you couldn't get around to turn into Casey's because people were there trying to turn into Walmart. And
Yeah, it made sense to put a stoplight there. No, maybe
Yeah.
not.
yeah, so, but anyway, that's how that came to pass.
Hmm.
And we got to looking, and their property line in Washington State Bank actually covers. There's a section that we have an easement on, that, in fact, we researched it way back when. So where that drive comes in, we have an easement that we can use that for the ambulances. First National Bank had that as their exit. But when you get east of that drive that goes north and south there, the bank owns that section. And so we're going to take that because that's getting broken up too. And I asked him, I said, here's the short version, here's the long version. I said, which do you prefer? He said, I don't care, do what you want.
All right.
And Jason said it shouldn't take him 2 shakes to do it. We'll flag it. Flags the ground. She said she has some. And,
I know a guy.
yeah,
Oh, jeez.
because Spencer, president of the local or the branch here, thought it'd be a good idea to have it flagged so that they knew which we can do. For all I know, Jason may have flags.
Well, if you want
Yeah, he will have.
the
Sorry.
agreement executed prior to the survey, just let me know. Or, you know, we could draft something.
Well, you think it's a good idea?
I mean, I would just wait for the survey.
Okay.
Then you would have the legal description, which
Okay.
is what I was trying to kind of say previously, but if you want to just do it now,
No.
we
I'm
can
with
use
you
it,
guys.
but I would advise to wait for the survey.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we do that?
There's no
And I would
urgency
agree
on
with
this.
you.
Well, the only urgency, if you will, is, as I expressed to Jason, I'd like to have it done. I'd still like to have the work done this fall if I can. He said, oh, he says, I'll get to it before that. So that was, you know, and Dwayne's already said that the road crew could do the work.
The concreting.
Yeah. We'll have to back in for a while,
Mhm.
maybe, or so maybe, allow the concrete to cure. Yeah, but, and I don't know if it takes longer when it's colder. I have no idea.
The loop should be plenty long enough.
Can't they mix stuff with it?
Well, they put calcium with it, but they won't be out there when it's that cold doing that.
It sounds like it's gonna get chilly here next week or something.
Isn't it?
I might have to get long underwear out.
It's news to me.
I'm already in sweatshirt weather.
They can pour it through.
And it's only, and it's only 80 degrees.
Oh,
My sister says it snowed already.
Yeah, it's,
60.
the rest of this week's supposed to be chilly.
Where?
Yeah.
St. Paul.
See?
Lee was right.
Well,
I said it.
Don't, why did you
Won't
say
it again.
that?
I needed that after going to party. Okay.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation.
So.
So you guys are gonna go through that letter again, mark it up, see what needs to be redacted or anything, if anything needs to be changed.
Is enough time, is Monday for this to be on the agenda too quickly? Do you want to do it not on a, when do you want to do it?
I don't.
Well, I don't think Monday's too.
Yeah, you just have to have it to the auditor's office by noon. They'll get mad.
Tomorrow. That's right, yeah.
We missed a day this week.
Well, we got, put it on the agenda, and if we're not ready, just bypass it.
So here's my question though. I just want to make sure that I'm thinking this right. We don't do we want to include all of the, shall we say, here is the, in other words, do we want to include all of this other information, or do we just want to say, here are the options as I see them?
Well, I think the point is that you guys look through and see what you don't want to include and kind of redline
I
out.
mean, what do you think?
This is your baby now.
Elizabeth, what do you think?
Whatever Josh has in his letter.
Okay.
Send it as is. No, again, I don't do well with, tact sometimes. I'm pretty direct, pretty straightforward.
We know
Sometimes
where you're
that-
coming from.
Yeah, sometimes that's not well received. So there's that.
I appreciate correctness.
You know, most people do. Well, no, I won't say that. It's a coin toss, honestly.
Yeah, some people can give a nut.
Yeah. But. And if there are other suggestions on options, I'm
I'm trying to figure out.
willing. Do you want me to put it in order for you?
Would
Mark-
you?
Mark the pages?
Yes.
Well, I think you handed me mine in your night order, what I'm gonna ask.
Oh, I got lucky.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. And how's your heads?
Well, it's better today.
Did we go see a doctor?
No, Sarah called me this morning, wanted me to come. I said, I bet if I didn't really have a bad headache.
Say
So
what?
I didn't have a bad headache this morning, so I took a spill on an electric scooter last week.
So
A fun one or a medical one? Like a gremlin or like one of those like segways?
Gremlin. I
Well, at
was
least-
dumb enough to ride it up on a lawnmower trailer. When it got up so high, it tipped over
Oh,
backwards.
no.
It's not funny. I didn't mean to laugh.
Oh, no.
I hit the
For the
gravel with
record,
my
the
head.
trailer's still okay.
Yeah, the trailer's okay.
Did you take a ride in an ambulance?
I was alone. I was embarrassed as heck.
Oh, no.
First
That's
thing I
awful.
thought, oh God, nobody's around.
Yeah.
No, there are no witnesses.
I
But
think-
also, flip side of that, no one's around.
Yeah,
despite the fact the man could not move his leg or arm.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was 5
Yeah, you
minutes.
probably
sat
ought to
there.
have gone.
oh, did you lose your wind, like it wind, or did it break
Oh,
something?
yeah, I lost everything. I think I seen stars
Did you lose
too.
consciousness?
He doesn't
Well,
remember.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you remember.
Yeah,
Golly, Joe, sorry, that sucks.
so
We're on
I
Zoom.
went and laid down for 2 hours.
they say you're not
That's
supposed
not
to do that.
supposed to, you know?
I did.
Took a nap.
Most people do, and then they don't wake up.
Yeah.
My wife was in Boston at the time.
Oh, so somebody would have found you within a few days.
Worse and worse.
Yeah, she was supposed to come home. This happened on Thursday. She was supposed to come home on Saturday, so she'd have called me Saturday at 10:30. How come you're not in Cedar Rapids to pick me up?
And you wouldn't have picked up.
I wouldn't have picked up.
And
So,
Oh, my goodness.
Today I are a supervisor.
okay, well, everybody's safe and sound.
Yep,
yeah,
it worked out.
no, I'm pretty sure I had a concussion.
That's what it sounds like.
Hey,
I'm
the
not a
thing
doctor.
is-
Yeah, no, that's exactly.
I asked him, did you get sick to your stomach? Oh, yeah.
Hey, so the next time you're at garage, you have to see a big old pink, helmet. Buy it.
Thank you, Susie.
You're welcome.
I don't know.
I just learned a lesson the hard way.
No kidding.
Okay. Never even.
the best way to
thought
learn.
about it. I was in a hurry to get it loaded, get to Mount Pleasant. So,
How
but
did that
I
work
didn't
out?
bleed any. That's the thing of it.
Not on the outside.
Not
I was
yet.
just gonna say.
Your head should bleed.
Anyway,
And I told him, I said, it's always a good sign that it raises
Yeah.
to the outside, but that doesn't mean there isn't anything going on the inside.
Well, I did see a doctor. I seen my daughter about 4 hours later and told her what happened. She looked, you better go see a doctor. You better go to the hospital. So I took it under advisement.
Well, the point is you made it.
I saved an ambulance trip. I didn't have any costs.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a stupid thing that I did.
And
Yeah.
that's usually what the start of getting
Yes.
an ambulance is.
Job security.
Don't believe me, if she'd have been there, she would have called you guys.
I'm sure.
I'm getting myself to the hospital if I can in any way.
That's where it was yesterday when I went to.
All right, well, I got a couple
you
phone calls I
bleed?
gotta return.
Yeah, but I talked to her now.
Yeah, she called me.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
No, I just gotta find out about this. I'll talk to Dave.
Evidently, it's some sort of maintenance agreement,
But
but I'm not sure I knew about that.
I didn't either, and I'm not sure I am.
Hey, Elizabeth,
yes, ma'am.
we got the teachers' night on the 10th.
Yeah.
We still need to figure out what we're giving away.
Motion to adjourn,
Oh, yeah.
Second.
discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Did we call
Thanks, Tom.